Alright, you guys, this is Quan coming through again with another video. I just wanted to, you know, first off, start by saying Shalom all. Thank you all for continuing to support the channel and support me in regards to my content. I promise you guys, I'll do, my best efforts, and I'll make a concerted effort to enhance the content and enhance the channel in order for me to grow. And I hope you guys continue to enjoy and support. But I just wanted to, go into the understanding or the origin and the inception of Christmas and why, God's people shouldn't be celebrating this holiday, this quote unquote holiday. Because if you're a person that believes in the Most High, the true understanding of the Most High, then you would know that partaking in a holiday or partaking in a celebration of a holiday such as Christmas is sinful and it's wrong. You know what I mean? The Most High tells us not to partake in the ways of the heathen, not to partake in the customs of the heathen. It's important for us to understand that. So I just wanted to start off with Jeremiah chapter 10. And we're going to start with verse 1 where it says, "Hear ye the word which the Most High speaketh unto you, O house of Yasha'Allah, or O house of Israel. Thus saith the Most High, thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." And verse 2 is just giving you an understanding of the fact that the Most High continues to emphasize that he chose us and he's only dealing with us because he lets it be known, Israel, don't do these things that these other nations are doing. I love you. I gave you a covenant. I want you to live according to me, according to my ways. So the Most High lets it be known to Israel, to his people, so-called black people, so-called Afro-Hispanic, so-called Afro-Native American Aboriginal. Yo, don't do these things that these people are doing because it's sinful. So it's important for us to understand why it's sinful, where it comes from, and why the Most High stipulated us to not partake in the ways of the heathen. So in verse 2, where it says, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." It's just giving you understanding that the people that understand the signs, as far as us being in these last days, should not be dismayed, because we understand that all this stuff must come to pass in order for prophecy to come to fulfillment. So the people that don't understand the signs of the time, they looking at it like it's nothing. So they look at Christmas and all these holidays that they worship as nothing. It's just, these are great customs of America. Let's just be happy and open presents and worship a tree and so on and so forth, not understanding where it comes from and why we shouldn't celebrate it. And that's the problem, and that's the power of ignorance. That's the power of not doing your due diligence in regards to research and studying and figuring out, where all this stuff come from. That's why the Most High tells us to be not ignorant in any matter, small or large. Know what I mean? And I just wanted to go back. Well, let's continue on in the scriptures though. In verse 3 where it says, "For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold." What do you put on a tree, on a quote unquote Christmas tree? That's rhetorical. "They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not." Especially back in the ancient times, in which they would use the nails and hammers to really place the tree in a spot to, to make it more so like statuesque. You feel what I'm saying? Like, that's what they did in the ancient times because they worship Osiris. They worship the pagan gods. Christmas goes back to the worship of the pagan gods. That's what Christmas goes back to, because it's in veneration of the quote unquote deity known as Saturn or Osiris, who was venerated in different regions. That's why you see lights on Christmas trees, because that's in veneration of the sun god. Now, the sun god Osiris. Now we know Osiris is also the god of the underworld, but he was venerated in other areas, in other regions as different gods. Going back to Nimrod, know what I mean? Going back to the actual person that lived on the earth known as Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter. And all this stuff goes back to the ancient times. It goes back to the scriptures, in which Nimrod and Cush led their apostasy against Christ, well, against the Most High, which was a rebellion of the teachings of Christ to conflate them, because Nimrod wanted to encapsulate all the prophetic aspects of Christ. That's why people believe that Christ was born on December 25th. No, that's in veneration of Nimrod. That's not in veneration of Christ, because Christ is Lucifer on the right-hand side. Nimrod is Lucifer on the left-hand side. The term Lucifer means enlightenment. And the enlightenment that we're under is on the left-hand side, in which we believe in these customs that's meant to deceive us, not knowing that the customs that we should be partaking in are righteous customs. The Sabbath, the new moon, Passover, those are our true customs. Not Christmas and Valentine's Day and New Year's and all this nonsense that go back to the gods that's contrary to the Heavenly Father, the quote-unquote false gods, the pagan gods. We're not supposed to be worshiping these holidays because the heathen worship the pagan gods. And I'm going to prove that to you right now. Let's go to Psalms, verse 96 and 5 real quick. We're going to prove that right now. So in Psalm 96 and 5, it says, "For all the gods of the other nations are idols, but the Lord made the heavens." Meaning the Lord is one. The Lord sits on his throne by himself. He has no peers. The reason why you have the release of all these quote-unquote pagan deities is because of what? The apostasy that was led by Cush and Nimrod. That's why. That is the reason why. Really going back to the choice that Adam and Eve made, but if you really want, the specifics, it goes back to the apostasy that Cush and Nimrod had led. Cush being the father of Nimrod, who was also who was also the husband of Semiramis, and Nimrod being also the husband of Semiramis. That's how freaked out and bugged out they were. Because based off of the veneration of them in different regions, which goes back to 325 AD, during the Nicene Council, in which Constantine the Great had mixed the scriptural teachings with the pagan teachings, you have the veneration of these false gods like Amun-Ra, Mars, Marduk, so on and so forth. Even the days of the week with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they all go back to the pagan gods. Like Monday is the moon god, which goes back to Islam and the inception of that religion. Then you got Tuesday, which is for the god Tyre or Tu. And then you go to Wednesday, which is for the god Woden. And you got Woden's Day. Thursday, which is for the god Thor. Friday, which is for the god Frigga or Freya. Saturday, which is for Saturn, in which these celebrities, they worship Saturn. That's why they wear all black in certain events, in certain rituals, certain award shows, so on and so forth. You'll see them wearing all black, especially when they get a Grammy win or an Oscar, or after they sacrifice a loved one, like Meg the Stallion, who's a man, and the baby. You feel what I'm saying? A lot of this stuff people don't really understand. They don't understand the nuance of these pagan gods, which is basically the Luciferian light of the world. Nimrod, Cush, Semiramis, the Holy Trinity, the Triune, which in the pagan allegories is Horus, Set, and Osiris. You know what I mean? No. I'm sorry. Isis, Horus, and Set. Excuse me. Isis, Horus, and Set. All this stuff goes back to the veneration of the pagan gods. And the reason why our people don't understand is because they have been destroyed. They have been broken down. So they don't get it. They don't get it. And I wanted to bring that out. So let's bring it out real quick. I believe it's in Isaiah 13 and 5, if I'm not mistaken. Let's get Isaiah 13 and 5 real quick. Or it could be 5 and 13. No, it's not this one. Excuse me, y'all. I could be getting the scripture a little mixed up. Right here. So it says, therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are furnished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Meaning our people, we've been broken down. The Israelites, our people have been broken down because we refused in the ancient times to take heed unto the Most High and what he stipulated for us. We partook in the heathen customs. We partook in what the Most High told us not to partake in. And being that we did that, we suffer the consequences today. That's why it tells you right here that therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, meaning wiped out. Their honorable men are wiped out, and their multitude dried up with thirst. So let's go to Hosea 4 and 6 real quick. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. So when the Most High says that, he's talking to Israel, telling the Israelites that being that you rejected me, you rejected my ways and my customs and my laws, statutes, and commandments, therefore I will reject the people that will come from you. Meaning the people that are living in this current captivity today. Now, we haven't been rejected by the Most High in mass. As a whole, but we've been rejected in mass. Meaning the Most High is only dealing with a remnant of us. He still loves all his people enough to preserve us until the very end. But he's only dealing with a remnant of his people, which is the elect. Because 2/3 are not going to make it. 2/3 won't make it. You know what I mean? So it's very important for us to understand where we at, what time it is, and what we need to humble ourselves to in these last days. Because it's going to get weirder and weirder the more and more we get closer to the end. The more and more we get closer to the end, the more weirder and weirder things are going to get. We're going to start seeing a lot of weird shit in this world that we haven't seen before. Like I said, you already got 100 genders being taught to kids in Europe. How the fuck how are you even teaching some crazy shit like that? It's a man and a woman. They're like, what? How is, come on now. For real. We got to start really rebelling against all these ideologies that they pushing down our throat, man. We got to rebel against this stuff, man. Stop threatening nature. Stop manipulating what God created. Stop trying to change it up. Now, I say that facetiously because it ain't going to stop. But it's one of those things where it's like, yo, right? The righteous people getting tired of this. We really getting tired of this. Because we know the Most High. But the people that don't know the Most High, who limit him to just benevolence because they go to church in which the church system ain't teaching you the truth. They stuck. They don't get it. They think that everything is all good until shit hit the fan for them. But the people that been knew, they just gonna understand what time it is and what we need to prepare ourselves for. You know what I mean? But just to go back to Christmas, man. Yeah, like back in the ancient times, as far as like the allegorical understanding of the pagan gods, Nimrod was killed by Shem for the apostasy that he led against the Most High. You know what I mean? And just to go back to Genesis 9:26 real quick, where it tells you that the Most High was dealing with Shem from the beginning because they fought the Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They were all taught by the Heavenly Father through Noah in regards to the righteous teachings. The only son that took heed to the teachings was Shem. Therefore, Shem was given that righteous spirit in which, you know, the Most High was dealing with, because who comes from Shem? The Israelites. Israel comes out of Shem. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, they come from Shem. The progenitor of the quote-unquote native Africans in Africa, they come from Ham. Who comes from Ham? Cush, Nimrod, and Semiramis. Cush, Nimrod, Canaan, so on and so forth. The Pacific Islanders, they go back to Japheth. So it's important for us to understand that race is determined by the seed line of what your father is. It's not determined by what your father and what your mother is. There's no such thing as mixed. There's no such thing as my race is based off of me being born in America. No. Your race is based off of what your father is. That's what your race is. Progeny, progenitor, race. Going back to the etymology of the word, meaning raza, which means seed line. Whatever your father's seed is what you are. That's all it is. So let's go to Genesis 9:26 real quick, where it says, "And he said, Blessed be the Lord power of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant, because we will inherit the land of Canaan as prophesied." We will inherit the land of Canaan. Know what I mean? And just when you go to Genesis 9:22, where it says, "Then Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon both their shoulders." Because, just to get it in context, Noah, he was drinking wine, where it says in verse 20, "And Noah began to be an husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent," meaning he was naked. Now, when it says that Ham saw his father's nakedness, who knows? It could be talking about Ham literally just seeing his father naked, or it could also be talking about Ham trying to, partake in some sort of sexuality with him, because that was a ritual, or that was a nature or a characteristic that was a part of the Hamites, meaning the Africans. They partook in bestiality and incest and homosexuality during the time when we was held captive in Egypt, when you read the book of Exodus, which is why the Most High told us not to do these things, because those people were doing those things. You feel what I'm saying? Which goes back to Leviticus. I want to bring out Leviticus real quick. So I guess like the staple or the theme of this segment is not to partake in the ways of the heathen. Let's be proud of who we are in regards to us understanding that we are God's chosen people. You know what I mean? It's very important to understand our value. Like, I don't understand how people can't seem to get a sense of, happiness or euphoria from understanding that when it comes to the so-called black man being given that understanding of himself. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, Leviticus 20 and 24. "But I have said unto you," well, let's start from 23. "And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you. For they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. So the Most High abhorred the things of the other nations that was with us in Egypt, the Egyptians, the quote unquote Africans, the true native Africans that come from Ham. You know what I mean? Like when you see a guy like Luoldin, that's a true Egyptian. The Nuer Nilotic peoples, they come from Ham. They come from Ham. I mean, but yeah, which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhor them. But I have said unto you, ye shall not inherit their land. Ye shall inherit their land, excuse me, and I will give it unto you to possess it. So that was going back to Genesis chapter 9. A land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your power, which have separated you from other people. Hence that word right there, separation. Once again, the Most High is a separatist. He's a separatist. He's a segregative. He's a segregatist, if that's a word. But you know what I mean. Like the Most High he's. When you read the Bible, it's only meant for one nation of people. It's only meant for a certain group of people, and it's emphasized throughout the Bible. So if you've never read the Bible, there's nothing that you can say in regards to anything spiritual. Because when you're speaking on a spiritual basis, you have to implement facts. It can't just be what you feel. And that's where people get mixed up. They think that when they speak on God, they could just speak how they feel. There's facts that come with it, whether you want to believe it or not. Like, you can't just say, I love God and I believe in God, and as long as I turn towards God. No, you have to be an Israelite for one. And also, you gotta adhere to the commandments. You can't just say I believe in God and that's it, and I follow God. No, following God is the doing of the commandments. So stop eating fucking pork, stop worshiping these holidays, so on and so forth. That's what the following of God is. That's what the love of God is the following and the keeping of the commandments. Let's get that. Let's get that real quick too. So we're going to go to 1 John. We're going to get 1 John chapter 5 verse 3. Where it says, for this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. And his commandments are not grievous. That's it, plain and simple. You can't just speak in vagaries and say shit like God loves me or I love God. How can you say you love God if you're not doing the commandments? If you eating pork, you don't love God. If you're trying to covet what another man has, you don't love God. If you're trying to have sex with another man's woman, you don't love God. If you kill without a just cause, you don't love God. You know what I mean? So everything we have to do, thus saith the Lord, thus saith the scriptures. We can't just do it based off of our feelings. Because where the fuck have our feelings gotten us? Like for real, where have our feelings gotten us? Right? Where has our feelings gotten us? Now, I just wanted to go to John 4 and 20 real quick. Just to bring out an understanding that, we worship the Heavenly Father. We worship the Creator. We worship our foundation. Not these pagan deities, these false gods, these false idols. Not the customs of the heathen. Not this world that we live in. So it says, our fathers worshipped in this mountain. And ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Yahweh Shalom. That's where we worship. That's the motherland. Know what I mean? Amos 3:2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. So that's plain right there. The Most High is singling us out, saying, "Yo, I only chose you. I only love you. So if you act up, I'm getting only you. I don't care about all these other people. The hell with them. I don't fuck them. I don't love them. I love you, Israel. I created all these other people, but I made you special. I made you in my image because I made you first." And that's what the Most High is iterating. That you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. That's why we at the bottom in the society. That's why we go through what we go through. That's totally disparate from any other people on the earth. You know? It's very unfortunate that, we living in a time where it's starting to be revealed unto us who's who in regards to you just bearing witness with the spirit and just gauging a brother and knowing, okay, this person ain't gonna make it. And you gauging a brother and you saying, okay, this person I can rock with, I can build with, I can sup with the brother. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's very important that we understand who we are and understand what we should celebrate, what we should adhere to and venerate and commemorate. And it should behoove us to do the research on the origins of these holidays so we can know what they're about. Know what I mean? Like when you talk about Christmas, that goes back to what you call it? Like Santa Claus. When you think of Santa Claus, that goes back to Saint Nicholas. Know what I mean? Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas. You get it? Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas. Know what I mean? You think of Christmas, Christ Mass. Christ Mass. Conflation. Totally conflated. When you think about, when you understand the true aspect of so-called Jesus Christ, whose name is Yahushua, because he was around during the time of the inception language, in which, he was around during the time of the Greek, but you didn't have the letter J during the time of Christ. He was speaking Hebrew. He was a Hebrew. His name was Yahushua. Yahushua is the Hebrew. So Jesus, that's just a title. That's not his name. The letter J didn't come into fruition until 1655, I believe, until the 1600s. So we don't call him Jesus. That's not his name. He wasn't called that when he was on the earth. He was called by his proper name, which was Yahushua. That was his name. Nobody was saying the letter J during that time. The letter Y is an archaic J. That's why Yahweh is translated as Jehovah. Yahweh is the Hebrew for Jehovah, because the Hebrew was the first language in which it contained all letters, meaning 22 characters with the exceptions of the letter E, the letter O, the letter V, and the letter U. So it's not Yahuwah, it's not Jehovah, it's not Yad-Hey, Vah-Hey, it's Yahweh. That's his name. But not to digress, I'm not digressing. This is all in the same vein. We got to understand, we got to be informed, rightfully informed, truthfully informed. You know what I mean? But yeah, going back to Christmas, the evergreen tree that sprang forth from the ground, as far as the allegory, was based in when Nimrod had died and was put on trial by Shem and was cut up into pieces. You feel what I'm saying? Therefore, based in the allegory, Semiramis was thought to have a reincarnated version of Osiris, who was venerated as Nimrod when he died in the allegory, because Set had cut up Osiris with the wild boar tusk. Set was Shem in the allegory. Osiris was Nimrod in the allegory. Isis was Semiramis in the allegory. When you talk about in Rome, know what I mean? And basically, Semiramis had thought that she would have a man child that would come, and that goes back to the conjunction of Nimrod taking on the prophetic aspects, thinking that he would be the Messiah that was to come. But when Horus sprang forth in regards to the allegory, because she was thought to have a son being reincarnated from Osiris to Horus, and like in the process of that, people would come to a tree that was in veneration of Nimrod or Osiris, because the tree was over the burial of quote unquote Osiris, and the people would come to the tree and they would put presents under the tree to worship quote unquote Osiris. You know what I mean? And Semiramis had thought in the process of that time that when she would conceive, when she would deliver a quote unquote child, which was to be Horus, that would be reincarnated reincarnated Osiris, which would be Heru or Horus. You feel what I'm saying? And this is where you get like the concept of the eye of Horus and all that stuff from. People think that Jesus Christ is Horus and all kinds of nonsense like that. That's because of the allegories and the biting off of the righteous aspect of the scriptures. You feel what I'm saying? So it's deep and it can be kind of confusing, but if you take your time and ruminate on the aspects and the allegories in regards to the ancient pagan rituals and the rites, then you'll get a better understanding of it. You feel what I'm saying? And they utilized the lighting on the tree because Osiris was known as the sun god. You know what I mean? In Rome. So basically, that's a representation of enlightenment, the augmentation of brightening lights. Goes back to the worship of the sun god. I mean, it's all Saturnian. It's all intertwined. It's all based in Saturn worship. I mean, or sun god worship, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same shit. It's all the same thing. And that's paganism for you. That's basically Satanism. But just on a level where people don't really understand it because they think that this is all good. It's a good thing. Not knowing that when you partake in the veneration of these pagan gods, which is basically celebrating the holidays and adhering to like astronomy and astrology and so on and so forth, you're just sinning. Because all this stuff is contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. Let's go to Exodus verse 20 and 3 real quick. Where it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under earth." Know what I mean? Because that goes into you going into idolatry. So when it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," that's talking about what? Religions. That's also talking about anything that you put on a pedestal, that you put before God. Like weed could be your God. Food could be your God. Anything that you do in excess and you put over God, that's known as an idol, which is a quote unquote false God. You know what I mean? And religion is really what this is the basis of, but it's also double fold. It's also going into anything that you put on a pedestal over the Most High. You feel what I'm saying? So Exodus 20, verse 3. You know what I mean? And verse 4 and going down. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. So why in Mecca do the Muslims worship the Kaaba stone? Why do they go around it 7 times? The Most High tells us not to worship stones and so on and so forth. But you see what they do. Because the Bible is not a religious book. The Bible is not a book of religion, contrary to what people may think. I know I may get people flummoxed by that, but the Bible is not a religious book. Religion started 600 years after Christ was crucified. The Bible is a book of laws, statutes, and commandments, as well as history and prophecy. That's what the Bible is, and it's aimed at one nation of people that the Most High was dealing with since the beginning of time. So I just thank y'all for listening and supporting. God bless you all, and I'll get back to y'all next time. Peace.